We are officially live.
We are officially live. Good evening, everyone. It's Julia Mejia, at-large city councilor. I'm in the city of Boston, and this is our weekly mental wellness check-in led by young people. And so with that in mind, I'm going to step to the side and let youth lead, and I'm going to kick it over to the host, Naesoj, to get us going.
Hello, everyone. I'm 16 years old. I'm Naesoj, and I am Julia Mejia, Boston City Councilor at Large as Youth Liaison. Happy to be here. And today we have a bunch of great youth here with us. And so I'm just going to throw it over to Dr. Gayl, and then we're going to have our youth introduce themselves.
All right, great. Welcome back, folks, and we're happy to have you here. I'm just here as a support for Naesoj and these young people. So again, thank you for joining us this week, and we look forward to a very exciting and exuberant discussion. So glad to have you, and I'm stepping back.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gayl. So first, we're going to have Alondra. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Alondra. I'm 17 years old, and I am Boston's Youth Poet Laureate. I'm really excited to be here with you guys today.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Jacory.
How you guys doing? My name is Jacory Martin. I'm 18 years old. I'm currently a youth organizer at Teen Empowerment, but I'm also an activist, a youth activist, as well as a youth artist. So.
Thank you, Jacory. And Pascal.
Hey guys, my name is Pascal. Innocent. I'm 17, and I'm working with NPDC. Yep.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so that's all I say. Okay, so today we're just going to be talking about mental health and how this pandemic has been affecting us, because as we know, youth should be at the front of every conversation that's happening right now, because we matter and we are the present and the future of the city. So I think I just want to pose this first question. How has the pandemic personally affected you? And we can go back in order, or we could just throw it out there.
Personally, I feel like it made school kind of harder because like I'm the type of person, I'm like a hands-on person, so I need like hands-on help. Like I need a teacher over my shoulder, like, oh yeah, do this is right. I just need like that extra say-so on what I'm doing. So it made school harder for me.
Thank you, Pascal. Did you want to go?
I feel like this was needed for myself personally. I feel like I spent a lot of time just like pouring myself out to my community and like society. And I think like this was the perfect opportunity for me just to tone in on myself and just, recollect myself moving forward and figure out what I need to improve on a personal note, on an academic level. And that's what it's been. Progress has been made since this
And Alondra?
This pandemic has definitely presented a lot of like, oh my gosh, struggles, within our family. There was definitely some people who got sick, people close to me. There was someone who passed away. There was just a lot of stuff. And it's crazy because it's like, I guess you heard so much about it from an outside perspective, to be in a position where you have to deal with certain things like personally, when like the monster's like inside of your house instead of just being on the outside. It's definitely, it's a lot, and it takes a toll on you. And I think finally I'm starting to grasp with, being home and being on lockdown, even though it's definitely really hard. It's a hard situation, and it's made school really hard too. So
I want to make sure we touch on all the things you guys brought up. So for example, we have Pascal talking about how there are students out there that do need that hands-on engagement and that like interpersonal relationship with their teachers to stay motivated to do the work. And we had Jacory, who talked about this quarantine kind of being well needed to improve ourselves and hone in on our skills. And then we have Alondra, who basically talked about how it's just right, it's right in your backyard. Like you never thought it could happen to you until it did. And then school just being a bit harder. So I guess the first question I would ask you all is, how has COVID like being like right in your backyard, basically, how has it affected you like in school? Like how do they connect? We can go back to Alondra if you want to start us off.
I think in terms of school, It's like when it first started off, I thought that it was going to be easy for me. I've usually been really good at being like independent and doing independent work. But I realized that I think I would fail at homeschooling. Like if I ever decide to transfer, I would absolutely do a terrible job because what I thought was going to be easy, having independent work has honestly, it's made out to be possibly one of the hardest things I've had to do. I have no guidance. They're constantly, changing things up, and that's not the teacher's fault at all. You know what I mean? This is really new to them as well. So it's been really hard to try to not only manage time and, create your own schedule, but finally when they did create like a set BPS schedule, it's like it's completely different than what I had for myself. So then I had to redo everything all over again. And it's been really hard to keep up with the work just within itself. So honestly, like what I thought was going to be simple just turned out to be way harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned like the district. Do you think Boston Public Schools has like supported their students?
Honestly, like what I thought was going to be simple just turned out to
somebody watching it. Jeannie, I don't think you're muted. All right. Do you think that like Boston Public Schools has done a good enough job of supporting their students when it comes to moving everything to a remote learning platform?
I honestly think that I wouldn't say that they're doing bad. I think that they're doing as best as they can under the circumstances. I just think certain things could have been done a lot faster, in my opinion. And that's not, of course, critiquing anyone. I know that everyone is working as hard as they possibly can. But even the fact that we got our like official like schedule last week is a little bit ridiculous. You know what I mean? In my opinion. And I just feel like also the fact that they were having a lot of conversations and that youth were never included in those conversations is something else that also makes me question. You know what I mean? So I still feel like they're lacking in certain areas. And I think that they have to definitely think it a lot more through because this is not something that's going to, end overnight, basically.
I agree. And Pascal, I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you go to a charter school, right?
No, I just go to a regular public school.
Oh, okay. So has everything been the same? Like, did you just get your schedule last week and everything?
Honestly, all right. So my school, it's like relatively small. So we got our schedules like back when we first started. But honestly, like it's getting kind of overwhelming because I don't know what kind of like system that the teachers have going on. But I agree with Alondra because a lot of the teachers aren't like getting in contact with us, asking like how we're doing and asking if we need extra help or anything like that. They're not communicating with us. They're just communicating with other teachers and not letting us know like what we could do better, what we can improve on, what they're improving on, or anything. Like it's just like for me personally, I call my teachers, I text them, and it's really just up to me to let them know what I need to work on, like what I need help on. And it's just I don't know, it's getting overwhelming for me. So I feel like teachers, like they are doing their best, but I feel like they could do a little bit better with helping the youth because I know there's a lot more kids out there, like other than myself, that needs help. So, yeah.
And I want to go to you, Jacory, because I know you mentioned that you're a youth activist. What do you think the city could be doing better to engage youth so that we don't have young people feeling excluded from the process?
Yeah, definitely just keeping like the youth in the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Many times it's like
Did he freeze for everybody?
No, yep.
Yeah. Okay, we can come back to Jacory if he doesn't come. Okay, so Alondra, Pascal, so I know you mentioned like youth not being at the tables when it comes to this decision making. How do you think adults or people of authority could do a better job of bringing youth in? Like, how do we get them to come to our platforms?
For my school, I feel like we could do like more Zoom calls, like different classes. Like it doesn't have to be like a big Zoom call, but it could honestly just be like a lot of kids that actually need help. Like I don't know how to explain it, but just a few kids that actually need help in the Zoom call.
I understand. Do you agree, Alondra?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what he's saying. we just started our Zoom meetings. So this is what I meant by just getting our schedule. There was only one other teacher that was doing Zoom meetings too. And again, it's not me blaming them. There was other people that, were dealing with their own personal issues in terms of the virus and stuff like that. But I think that, there definitely needs to be a lot more. I mean, we've gotten really good attendance, for example, but I know that there's other schools that there's still only like 8 kids dropping into the meetings and stuff like that. So I think that there needs to, just like Pascal said, a lot more engagement from the adults, because this is not a student's fault if they can't pick up, the slack independently. I think some teachers in some schools are expecting way too much from the students in that area.
Jacory, I want to make sure we hear what you had to say before. Did you want to finish?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the connection got messed up.
No worries.
But yeah, like I was saying, like it just comes down to like support, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like a lot of people, I go to Boston Day and Evening, and since we're a small school, I go to Boston Day and Evening 2.0, and we're a small, like all boys school for the most part. And we are like always like, involved with what the teachers might be talking about and stuff like that. So my like perspective is different, but based off of my friends who go to other schools, it's like they don't like the school system hasn't really connected with them, like teachers, staff hasn't really made the effort to like connect with these people and see how they're doing. And so they don't feel like engaged, and they feel like they can just drift off and do whatever they want. So it's just all about, like making sure that as a youth, we hold our peers accountable, but also making sure that like as staff, they are obligated to support the young people and continue to give them the resources that they may need during this situation. So, I just think it all comes down to just support, and making sure that if they can't provide that support, we should definitely do so for them.
Yeah, I agree. I know me personally, I will be a first generation, and like it's usually really hard for my mom to help me because she didn't finish high school. So she usually she doesn't know like half of the stuff that I'm learning and stuff. So when I do need help, it's kind of like I need my teachers, and the fact that they aren't there is kind of like it's a disengagement almost like from me and my schoolwork. So I just wanted to ask you, Alondra, like do you have you personally been affected by not having like hands-on engagement with your teachers?
Yeah, definitely. I'm someone that, I need to be more project-based, more hands-on. I don't know who said that earlier. I think it was either Jacory or Pascal, but it's definitely something that's been difficult. I was always the kid that I like left my class to go talk to my teachers and stuff like that. So I need them like really bad. And my school's also very small, but it's not an alternative. It's not, anything else. And even then, we still have a lot of kids that they really benefit from that one-on-one time, and not having it anymore is definitely really difficult.
So I know both Alondra and Jacory are artists. How have you guys been using the arts to cope with this pandemic, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh yeah, I've been up like watching documentaries on hip hop, for like 7 hours straight, like different things, and just getting inspired by undiscovered like art, whatever it may be, like definitely digging like deep down into just everything, from music theory to just like the beginning of all this for myself. And so it's been a dope journey, and I just want to continue to like progress throughout this time, because I've been seeing myself benefit from it. So I just want to be able to do that, and then when I'm able to like like do what I can, like share it with my peers and like other people that I know might be inspired by it, and I'm just creating my own. So yeah.
How about you, Alondra?
My art has definitely taken a very I guess I don't know how to explain it or the word for it, personal turn, so to speak. It's a lot easier for me, to write poetry about other people, situations, things that I see in the world. And, being home, being with myself, despite the things that are going on in the world, I've been able to focus a lot more on writing about myself and focusing on my emotional and mental health, and using poetry as my outlet. And it's kind of interesting because though a lot of people tend to use the arts as their outlet in that area, I used it as my outlet to basically speak about things that I saw instead of using it for myself. So it's really interesting to see how, my work has changed and shifted as a result of having to take this time to be with myself.
Yeah. And I see like the relationship between both you guys using the art basically to grow, and how your art is growing because you're just within yourself. So I guess my question would be like, how do we get other youth to find that thing to cope with, like to find that thing that's personal to them, so that they don't think as much about being in this pandemic?
That's a deep question.
Staying in contact with friends.
And for those, like, I know there are a lot of youth that they're kind of disengaged right now because they may not have phones or social media, and usually like email is the only thing that they can do. What do you think educators can be doing right now to make sure that students aren't feeling that much disengaged from their peers?
I know my school, they're doing like, because they have an Instagram page, so then they come up with like spirit weeks almost, which at first everybody thought it was corny, like week 1, week 2, and then everybody started doing it. They're doing a baking competition right now. So when you mention students, for example, who only, use email as a way to communicate and things to that effect, I think that they
Can you guys hear her? No.
Nah, I can't. I thought it was bugging. Nah.
Alondra, we can't hear you.
I thought my phone broke.
I
Yeah.
thought I was frozen. I
No,
was
we
like,
can't.
What about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh my God. I don't even know where I left off.
We left off at baking. We heard you at like baking contest.
My internet sucks. Oh my gosh, so they could do something similar, like those kids who only have access usually through email and stuff like that, but just have it be, it will obviously have to be more like written based. You see what I mean? It would definitely be complicated. It's kind of hard to find a solution for something like that because it's, there's so many different situations, and it's not like a teacher is going to put themselves at risk and go visit a student personally, you know what I mean? Unless you're going to stay outside the gate or something, but it's kind of hard to engage people in those situations where they don't have access to like social media, for example.
And I'm glad you brought that up about like visiting personally, because a lot of the times like they're like, okay, well, how do we stay safe but still reach out to this person? And so a thing I always think about is how a lot of the times adults tell us to come to their platform. How do we reach out to adults? Like come here, come to Facebook, come to Snapchat, come to Instagram, like come see us in our element. How do you think we get to adults and get them to understand that?
I feel like we can invite them to like Zoom calls and lives like this. Like, for example, like since we're talking about like what teachers can do better, I know there's a few teachers on the live that's like, okay, maybe I could use this for my class and my students during this pandemic. But I feel like also like we could like, can't we make our own like little Zoom calls and like just add teachers to it? Like I feel like
Great idea.
like if we could be able to do that, like we should just start doing that, because all teachers aren't just gonna make Zoom calls for us. All teachers aren't just gonna call us. All teachers just aren't gonna keep helping us, but we just gotta fight for our help, really, for real.
I
So
agree. Yeah, counselor, I know you're eager to speak.
No, I'm an ideas person. When I hear a good idea, I'm like, oh my God, yes. I love it. And I love it and I love it and I love it. And I think maybe we can utilize the space that we already have built in for every Thursday, and that you all are leading the conversation and you invite the teachers into the space to hear and engage with you all. That would be a dope invitation. I don't know, Naesoj and Alondra, what you guys think about that?
I think it would be great to have teachers come in here with the youth are thinking, because I think what counselor does is she gives us this platform to speak to those educators and speak to those people in authority. And I think it is good that they should start coming to hear what we all have to say.
All right, so Pascal, you're going to be the producer next week. You want to lead it?
yeah, I'll do that.
Naesoj, you got a business partner there. So how about next week's theme will be a personal invitation to teachers and educators. And Pascal, that means you're making a commitment to be on the show next week, just so you know. And you'll
Of course.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay. It's your idea, so I'm gonna make sure you bring it to life. All we're gonna do is help with the promotions, and then making sure that we tap into our educators network, because Gayl and I used to run this organization called C-Plan. She's still a part of it, and we work with educators all across the city. So it'll be easy for us to bring these educators in. Let me ask you this question. Do you guys want to have maybe some educators be part of the panel too with y'all?
Yeah. So then they could like probably give us their like problems on like why they can't do certain things or why they aren't doing certain things. And then they could like probably give their input on what we could do for the Zoom calls in the future and stuff like that.
Perfect. Naesoj, you got the next show locked in already?
Yes.
So good because
I'm curious, just the educators or the administrators too? Or you want to do them separate?
I think it should be all one. Like everybody needs to be there.
So you want administrators and educators, because to be honest with you, administrators are the ones who, the ones that really have the authority. Educators probably want to do things, but unless they have the buy-in from the people who can make those decisions, then we'll work on our end on making sure that we have a mix of administrators and educators. Probably like 2 or 3. We don't want to overwhelm it because then it'll be because y'all are supposed to be in charge here. So it'll be more of y'all and maybe 2 or 3 adults. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, it's great that we do that because I know a lot of the time educators feel like they're overpowered too. So it's kind of like a ruffle. Like educators are overpowered by admin, and then we're overpowered by the educators. So I feel like if we all just came together, and I'm not gonna say we'll come to an understanding, but I think it'll teach us how to coexist better. And everybody will kind of get on like kind of the same page. So I think that's good. And while we're on this topic, I just want to bring Dr. Gayl in because I know she specializes in this kind of stuff. But what do you think educators and adults can be doing right now to help our youth, Dr. Gayl?
Yeah, and I think you all, as young people, have said it. It's really reaching out more to all of you and having more connections and more contacts. So I think that's what you're asking for. You're asking for, can you, show up more for us now that we are not in the school space? How can you be more available to us, whether it be via maybe texting or via Zoom or via whatever other medium that you have, but allowing the young people to have more access to their teachers. I heard Pascal and Alondra say that, it's been more of a struggle for them because they're not as connected, and they want more of that connection because they, being in the school building, I think that's what you were kind of saying, gave you a little bit more structure. But now that you're not in that school building that provides that structure, you need some kind of external structure within your home structure to help you. And I think that's what needs to happen, is that if these educators can understand where you guys are coming from, then I think it'll be a much better collaboration and a much better connection.
Kind of while we're on the subject, I want to reach out to the youth and say, like, do you ever feel like shut down, or like an adult is telling you kind of like they're trying to rough you off a little bit? Like they say that they want to hear you speak, but when it comes time to you to actually speak, they don't want to hear it anymore. Anybody can share.
I feel that way. I'm an adult.
Jacory, did you want to speak?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like, I know everyone has their ways, based off of like their experiences, their mindset might be a little different, right? Especially when it comes to like generation to generation. But sometimes I feel like people really like just can't think outside of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they just don't have perspective on other people, like to the point where it's like you could say how you feel and they don't believe you. You know what I'm saying? You're like, how are you gonna tell me like what I'm feeling is wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like that's like ridiculous. So I just think it's all about getting like these other people who have like this. It's not even about like agreeing with what we have to do or what we have to say, but it's just understanding. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it just comes with just us being able to like push that upon them and just pushing for change and accepting differences. And I think that's something that's hard for people to do, but it's possible.
Pascal, Alondra.
I definitely agree with what Jacory said. It's, something else that I definitely think about is, I've encountered speaking to adults and, they talk to you and they're like, yeah, that's great. What you're saying is great. And they teach you things, they encourage you, they tell you, to go above, to go beyond. They teach you about things like civic engagement, the power that you have, and then they limit you. Like in the same breath, they will empower you and limit you. And I've had, teachers even sit down and talk to me and, teach me about my rights and teach me about mass incarceration and teach me about this and teach me about that, to then pop in the same sentence and be like, but don't reach too far. You know what I mean? Or do something that's safe. And I think that when we think about playing it safe, you're cheating yourself out and you're cheating other people out as well. And I think some people have to be willing to sacrifice themselves if they have it within themselves to do that. And when you see a student approaching you with a good idea, with a good concept, and you look them in the face and you say, but don't dream that hard or don't dream that far, that's why we end up having kids that get discouraged and they drop out and they decide not to do anything because you're looking at them and telling them that they can't. And I think that that's where the problem arises, is that they listen, but only as far as they think that you can make it.
Thank you so much, Alondra. Pascal?
Honestly, I feel like teachers nowadays don't really feel like we're really engaged. Like all right, so for an example, you could give like a teacher an idea or whatever, like but they won't follow up on it. They expect you to follow up on it. Like, so in Boston, I feel like most schools don't have like students that really want to do something for real, like who go above and beyond to go do that. That's why teachers feel like, okay, that's why this, that, the other, shut them down, you know? But it's not that, I don't feel like they're actually trying to shut you down. But at the same time, it's just your perspective, because that's probably how you are. That's probably, like Jacory said, that's probably the experiences that you've been through. So like, you can't really, as a student, you always have to have an open mind too. Yes, the teacher has to have an open mind, this, that, yeah, that's cool. But a student, it doesn't matter what a teacher says. It doesn't matter what anyone has to say. You personally, you have to know that you have to go above and beyond. You have to keep following up on this. You have to keep going and do that. It's like, it's just you personally. Me, I know I don't give up on for anything, but I know there's a lot of people out there that that one shutdown, it shuts their whole thing down, their perspective, their mind down, their body, everything. But like, I don't know. I just feel like as a person, you shouldn't let anybody tell you what you can't do or anything. Like, teachers, they're there to teach you. They're teaching you that whatever they say is not always correct. Like, you can go do more than what they've done, you know? So that's how I look at things. So yeah.
I think it's so good that Pascal brought this up, but he said like most teachers and adults think that the students our age are engaged, and that sometimes is true. But what I always think about is like, we're not engaged in what you want us to be engaged in, but every student, every young person, they have something that interests them the most. And I don't even care if that's just posted on social media. Take that and make it something that they can use in the future. I feel like there's something in every student that we can pull out of them, and that's what they're engaged in, so that's what we should be promoting to them. Like, for example, it may not be schoolwork, but maybe we can give them this alternative that'll get them interested in their schoolwork. Maybe we can make their schoolwork like this, like alternative. And so I just want to thank you for that, Pascal, because I think it is important that not only do we look at students, like how do we get you more engaged, but we look at adults too, like, well, how do we get you to get that this student is engaged, and how do we get your perspective? How do we get the fact that you no longer want to work on this student because they're not engaged? So I want to thank you for that. And as we're talking about like engaged students and not engaged students, I kind of want to touch on the subject of like isolation. How are you guys feeling as far as like being isolated from everybody, if you are, and how do you think this is affecting students that are kind of like in their homes and they don't even talk to their families?
For the isolated, you shouldn't feel isolated. Well, obviously you do feel isolated, but I feel like you shouldn't, because at the end of the day, you always gonna have yourself. But at the same time, like, you can reach out to others. You can, like, there's things that you can do to feel a part of some place. There's places where you could take walks. Yes, you could social distance, but at the same time, you don't have to be isolated by yourself. Like, being in homes with people that you don't really get along with, there's ways that you can go about that without feeding into that negative energy, without like arguing or going at each other, whatever the case may be. There's things that you can do to get away from it. So just figure out how to get away from it. You don't always have to focus on yourself, but there's ways that you can get through it. So
what do you think, Jacory?
Yeah, and I just feel like like a lot of people, especially in this era, we have social media and we're so used to just being like together and I mean, like right now would be the perfect time for us just to tone into ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many people do that. I don't know how many people prioritize that, but it's necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like just get away from your phone for a few and just really tune in like to who you are and understand what your values are and like you know what I mean? It's not simple as it sounds, but it's really necessary because at the end of the day, it's like Pascal was saying, it comes down to just you knowing yourself and you being able to have the confidence to make decisions for yourself. You know what I mean? Without anybody's remarks. And so that's something that I think people should definitely practice.
Yeah, I agree. How are you thinking, Alondra?
I definitely, I think that I do think it's really important to take advantage of this time, to really focus on yourself and think about yourself. I know that at first for me, when I heard about it, I kind of freaked out because even though I have a good and a stable home life, I'm not necessarily the type of person who likes to sit down with myself. So I got scared because the last time I did that, I fell into a depression. So I was like, I don't necessarily know if this is what I want. It worked out this time, which is great. But, I also know people where it did not work out this time and they are really struggling. In as if you can think about the worst, rock bottom that you can hit and how bad it can get, that's some people that I know. And it's really sad because it's like it all depends again on the person. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like how Pascal was saying, there are some people that, he, for example, he doesn't give up, right? And then there's some people that one shutdown is like enough to just completely shut you down. So then I know people that it's like, even though some of them can take advantage of the situation in a positive way, even though they go through like a rough, patch, there's other people that this has like completely messed them up to the point that whatever progress they made in like an area of mental health before all of this happened completely just like crumbled before their eyes and they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah. And so, Alondra, I have to ask you, like, what do you wish somebody would have told you or helped you with when you were in that place?
I wish somebody would have noticed me. I think that no one noticed because, anyone who knows me, they see me as like happy, smiling, laughing Alondra. And, no, you see what I mean? Like, I'm not always happy, laughing, happy-go-lucky Alondra. And I think it was really easy. Can you guys hear background noise? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but it's okay.
I'm so sorry. Okay. But I really wish someone would have noticed. I think it was, there was definitely some signs. There was some very obvious signs. Whether it was, me sleeping really late, which is something I never did, whether it was the fact that I was, really struggling with insomnia. Like there was a lot of different things that they could have seen. And I think people just avoided it and they thought that it was going to be a phase. And if I tried to talk about it openly, they sort of shut me down because they didn't expect it from me. So I really, if I wish I had someone during that moment, basically anybody at all.
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk about that because that's something we talked about a couple of weeks ago on the show about how it. And I don't want to make it specific to Black and Brown young students, but I want to say like all young people, how sometimes it's kind of like you don't have that one person to be like, okay, maybe you really are going through this, because usually we're shut down and we're told like, oh, not that you can't be like, you're not depressed, like that doesn't even make any sense. So how do you think we can stop that? And that's for everybody. How do you think we can stop those kind of conversations from happening and really reach out to those people and understand what they're going through?
It's a generational thing. I feel like some of our families, that's what they heard growing up. Like I know some of my, like I told one of my aunts once that there was something that I did to help with my anxiety. She looked at me, she's like, anxiety? She's like, what's that? And she started going off. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I was like, don't get mad at me. So I think it's just about, maybe teaching some of the people that we know that are older than us in a very loving manner, like not being judgmental, because the people that love you, like sometimes they do stuff that hurts you, but it doesn't mean, like if they didn't grow up learning any of this, then how do we expect them to be able to support us? So if you have the information, like you have to try your best to also teach them, but in a way that's non-judgmental and honoring the fact that it's like they did not have that type of support. So then they find it difficult to support you.
I definitely want to follow up with that. Yeah, I feel like when it comes down to that, especially like with my family, it's like they're so damaged by like whatever happened in, you know what I mean, their early days. Like they're so damaged by like what happened, and the mental health is so gone. It's like they're so stuck in that, they're so like deep into it, like there's no, you know, coming back from it. And so you know, I find it hard to express myself in that type of way with them, so I don't really involve myself with some of them for the most part. And so with that being said, I think we should just put full focus on the upcoming generations and just making sure like the people younger than us is getting that support from us, and making sure that the people who have authority over them is also supporting them, especially like the educators and whatnot. But it's just really important to make sure this cycle doesn't continue over time, and we have the power to make sure it doesn't, you know, continue the cycle. And so we should be able to put that full focus on the younger generation, so it can stop there, you know, and moving forward, we can make that the new normal, you know?
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Jacory, about our parents and our older relatives kind of being damaged by what happened to them in their earlier days. Because I know for me, like whenever I tell my mom like I'm not happy with where we are, like I'm not happy with our relationship, she's kind of like, well, the relationship I have with my mom, like, okay, mom, but these are two different times. Like you have to understand, like I'm allowed to feel this way. I think that's what a lot of young people just need to understand, that you are allowed to feel that way. And I kind of always bring Dr. Gayl and Counselor in at this time, because I just think they give the best advice when it comes to this. But Counselor, if you don't mind telling us about when you were a kid and how you deal with your daughter now, the fact that you're aware of your feelings and stuff.
Yeah, no, so I think that for parents, I'm going to be straight up and honest. And yes, I know this is recorded, but I don't know how to be any other thing but honest, is that I'm still struggling a lot with my own issues that I dealt with my mom growing up. I still think that my mom and I still butt heads. And, you know, now she lives downstairs and I'm parenting and trying to raise my daughter. And I give my daughter a lot more of a leeway than my mom did with me, but because I know the trauma that she caused me, because the way that she would speak to me and the way that she would treat me, she just didn't know how to parent because she was abandoned when she was a kid. So, you know, she felt like just because she put a roof over my head and because, you know, she did all of these things for me, that was the way that she knew how to show me that she loved me. But, you know, she wasn't never really affectionate with me. And so with my daughter, I'm a little bit more affectionate, and I try to be a little bit more about how important it is for her to display her leadership and to have confidence. And so my mom thinks that sometimes I'm being a little bit too soft on my daughter, but I just felt like she was too hard on me. So, you know, I'm always trying to strike that balance between my mom and my daughter, and then they're always in my space together. So I feel like I'm in the middle of these two very opposite worlds. So it's been hard for me as a parent, and it's also been hard for me as a child of a parent who never knew how to love or how to raise me in a way that was nurturing. So, you know, those are the sort of things that I struggle with and that I try to balance. And, you know, I'm still learning it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think that I have the recipe for what good parenting looks like, because I never learned it myself. I never saw it. So I look at TV and I'm like, well, that's not my reality. You know, I'm a single mom. I can't look at the books or see what I see on television and be like, no, that's not my life right now. So, you know, a lot of it's just hit or miss. I just follow my instincts, and, you know, I try not to be overbearing with my daughter. I just try not to pass on my own trauma to her,
Mm-hmm.
so that she can learn how to be herself.
Thank you so much, Counselor. And I'm glad Alondra touched on being a generational thing, because I know Dr. Gayl talked to us about this last week. Dr. Gayl, if you want to share about, because I know you said like you try to reach out to your children because there is such, the generations are just so different. So can you tell us about your experience?
Yeah, so I have teenagers at home, two teenagers at home, one boy, one girl, and even parenting them, my approach to them is very different because they are two different children. And so going back to what the counselor said and what Naesoj is asking is, yes, our parents really didn't know what they were doing and felt like they were doing the best. And they're using their parenting skills from their parents. And that's what I was doing, right? So I'm also using those same parenting skills that my parents did for me, until, someone showed me something different and I realized, wait a second, this is not working. And I have children who are very, at times, very vocal and say, hey, that's from the olden days and you can't use that stuff on us. So it gives me an opportunity to stop and to take a look at what I'm doing as a parent. So I think one of the things, I believe it was Alondra, maybe Jacory said it, is that, oftentimes parents, if they went through their own traumatic experiences because no one listened to them or no one heard them or no one understood what was going on for them, then when it's time to parent our children, we do the same exact things too. So it's called that transgenerational kind of trauma it's passed on from one generation to the next generation. And I think Jacory made an excellent point in terms of where do we break the cycle? How do we get that cycle broken? And I think Alondra also said is how do we educate the older generation to really understand that, what you're feeling as young people is real. It's nothing abnormal about it. And I guarantee you that when they were younger, they were feeling some of it. They just didn't have the words to put to it, because oftentimes things like anxiety and depression is passed down from one generation to the next. And it's because maybe our parents didn't know that's what they were experiencing or that's what they were feeling, then they didn't have the words to put to it. So when our young people now are saying, no, I'm depressed, I have anxiety, I'm having a difficulty time sleeping, and, they don't know what to do with it. So out of fear, the first thing parents tend to do is say, no, just bounce out of that. No, what do you mean anxiety? What do you mean depressed? What do you have to be depressed about? And so it's really important that, you keep speaking your truth in terms of how you're feeling and what you're experiencing, because it's real. And having an outlet, someone to go to talk to be able to share that with. So, I just want to say that, the fact that you are all on here being very open and honest about your own way of getting through maybe your depression or your anxiety or your feelings of isolation. Those things are real. And it's so important for the adults out there to hear it, because we get into this frame of mind in terms of our adultism. And we get into this place of forgetting that we were teenagers too. And we went through a lot of the same things. It's just that now we're in denial and we don't want to admit to it. And if we can get to a place of saying, yes, you know what? I was feeling depressed too. I was anxious too as well. It makes sense to me. So what can I do to help? So a lot of that has to do with, the generations and how we are passing down those burdens from our own upbringing down to our children.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gayl. Pascal, I want to sorry, Jacory. I just want to make sure we get Pascal's input on this, because I know we didn't hear about his take on how do you feel about this parent to child and the child not being able to voice how they're feeling?
All right. So for me and my family, I've coming up, I've always been the type to just keep my mouth closed. I always just went with emotions. I've always just tried to be that gangster internally, so I won't be hurt in some type of way. So anything I've ever went through, I just buried it. Just simple, plain simple as that, because I guess that's just how I was brought up. My family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my stepmom, everybody around me, just strong individuals. And to me, it seemed like they never really got into their feelings. They never really explained to anyone how they felt. So for me, just seeing that and all the experiences that I have seen, it's you can't really, I feel like I'm coming out of a different type of show when I'm coming out and talking about it. I feel like I'm not me. I don't know. I don't feel me when I'm talking about certain things. So I know certain people out there, they feel the same way. So they don't really go to anyone. They don't talk about it. They just go with emotions. They just try and keep working. And, I guess that's why I try and work so hard about certain things, and I try not to give up. And it really brought me where I am now today. So, but honestly, I feel like talking about it would make certain situations better. You would get through it better. You wouldn't have as much trauma as you would than if you would have talked about it. But certain people like come up different, certain people have different experiences, so it's harder. It can get harder as you go, because you haven't talked about it in the past, or you haven't had anyone to talk to about it. You haven't had anyone to help you, like, so it all really goes back to someone helping you. It always goes back to someone giving you that affection, that type of love. Like, okay, yeah, he's going through some, or she's going through some. I love them this much, so let me help them with this. So it always goes back to just some type of help.
Jacory, I know you wanted to speak on.
Yeah, I definitely want to piggyback off Dr. Gayl when you were saying how you talking about how like the generational thing happens. And so what I think too is like it's gonna take a lot of energy from us, you know what I'm saying? Because we are definitely the ones who have to make this happen for ourselves and for the world. But it's definitely gonna take a lot of energy within ourselves to make the younger generation, you know what I'm saying, like adapt this new way of life. So with that being said, I think it would be dope for, I think it would be awesome for like the older generation to understand where we're coming from and see everything out and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like we're at a point where these people are very convinced that the life that they're living and the mindset they have is like getting them through. And so it's not even like, I don't think we're obligated to even talk to them about what the further steps that we're trying to make. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that they have to deal with themselves at this point. Like, this is my personal opinion. Like, I'm not going to sit here and waste my energy talking to you, convincing you that the life that I'm living is, some type of myth. But I'm going to make sure that I take like the time to like talk to my peers and organize something bigger than ourselves, so it can impact the younger generation. So, that could just grow and you know what I'm saying, things could go normal and at a normal pace and work out, rather than like waste that energy trying to convince these people, oh, like, believe me, I'm going through this and that, and they still don't believe you all the way, or still don't understand. But if we take that energy, all that energy, just to invest it into the younger generation, it would definitely help.
Yeah, and I'm interested in you keep giving us this idea that maybe it's not the adults that we should be reaching out to. Maybe it's the young people that we should be reaching out to now create something new so that we can stop this from happening. So it's kind of like, yeah, the adults, hear us if you want to hear us, but like the young people, the people younger than us is who we need to focus on essentially. Yeah, and I think I totally agree with that. And I kind of want to hear from Alondra and Pascal. How do you feel about that notion?
I feel like the more young people speak up, the more adults would like feel comfortable with talking to the kids and other young people about what they're going through, and it wouldn't be something new to them. It would be a new experience, but they get used to it, so they want to do it more and more and more.
How about you, Alondra?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Reaching out to the younger generations is incredibly important because, they're very flexible right now. They're like sponges, they'll take anything. And I say that, and, I'm also really young. Like, I have so much still like left to learn, left to take in. And I think, as much as that's also important, I think it's just because I've also seen older people in my life that went from being super rigid and like, I don't want to hear you, to like being so open about talking about these things that it's like I still have hope that it is possible for people who want to listen. Of course, like it always has to be about where your head is at and where your heart is at. Because if you don't want to listen, you're not going to listen. Like, I know my grandmother, she's 75, 76 something. She was always so like tough and she was rigid, and she would say stuff to us that it was like, why are you talking like that? You know what I mean? And then now she's a completely different person, and the way she talks about things and the fact that she's so open about talking about, trauma or whatever. And mind you, she has so many more years to unpack, you know what I mean? And she might not even get to unpack all of it, but the fact that she's brave enough to even try, like, says a lot in itself. The sad part is not a lot of people are going to be like that. And that's why I really understand what Jacory says when he says we have to put the bulk of the energy into the youth, because they're the people that you still have a chance to save. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a little bit harder to help somebody out who is so stuck like on their own prejudice, on their own ways of thinking, and they're too scared to like break out of that, basically.
I'm glad this came up because this is actually the first time we've had this kind of idea that it's like the adults, they'll follow suit. We need to kind of get to the younger people. And as I think about that, I think about like, how do we get to the people our age too? Because I feel like, yeah, the young people, they're sponges. They're going to take whatever we give them. But I don't think it's too late to save the people our age. And so how do you guys think we engage those people that are kind of like, nah, I'm too cool for that. Like, I'm gonna go do this and you do you. But so how do we engage those people? Yeah, Jacory.
Many times I think because we know those people that are just lost and they're just trying to find themselves, and many times the reason they're in that situation is because people don't include them in the picture. They might be someone that's battling like mental health, and they're in the classroom, they're going crazy, and the teacher just like excludes them from the whole group. You know what I'm saying? So their whole life they could just be going, and their family might be disagreeing with the things that they're doing, and then it just makes them feel isolated, and they don't know how to handle that. And so we need to be leaders and be able to like take those people in, no matter how toxic they might be. You know, take them into the circle and make sure we give them a purpose. Because if we don't give them a purpose, or if they don't find a purpose for themselves that is going to benefit them, somebody else will. And you know how the system works. So it's like, you know what I mean? We know how that goes. So it's not even worth sacrificing, because we have to sacrifice something, whether that's time, whether that's like these decisions that we can make by, you know, cutting a certain group of people off and making sure that we focus on ourselves. It's going to take a sacrifice. And it's just, if we can't make that sacrifice, and if we're acting too careful with these things, then things are just gonna go in whatever direction that, you know, it goes in. But we could take full control over these things that's happening.
Yeah, Alondra.
Going off of that, I think that's so important. You know what Jacory's saying about sacrifice. Like, you have to be willing to love what's hard to love. You know, I think it's really easy to point fingers and be like, he's like this, she's like this, you know, they're this, they're that, and you know, we put labels on each other. I froze. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. So it's kind of hard. It's really hard, actually, to be able to, you know, work with people, even especially when they put up their own walls as well. It's like, how do I get to somebody who doesn't seem like they want to be gotten to in the first place? Like, how do I speak to someone who doesn't want to speak? But I also think it has a lot to do with when somebody's ready. You know what I mean? There are people that I've met that they were just, oh my God, they were wild. And then all of a sudden they came to this place because there was somebody that was willing to like love on them. And even if they didn't receive that love in the first place, they came back to it. They came back to that place because they knew, I saw something in you that was worth it. Like, there's a lot of people that you start working with them and it's really hard because they're going to relapse, because it's like, okay, all this love and all of this new energy feels great, but it's like, I'm not used to this. So I'm gonna just go back to what I'm like, you know, what I'm used to. So there just has to be sacrifice and dedication on the part of, you know, youth amongst each other. When we work with people, I think there's this culture now of like, oh, cut this person off if they're toxic. But it's like, well, what do we label as toxic? You know what I mean? Mental health illness and you going through problems isn't toxic. That's not something that you can control. So it's like, I'm not gonna cut off my friend because
Oh no. We can't hear you, Alondra. No, not yet. I'm hoping it comes back in.
now.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Crazy. What part cut off?
You were saying how you weren't gonna cut off your friend just because they're toxic because of the mental health thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not just going to cut off a friend because they said that they're, you know, going through depression or something like that. That's, you know, I'm not a good friend. I think, you know, we're really quick to cut people off. You see what I mean? And it's like, I think instead of cutting people off, we should also be opening up conversations about things like boundaries, things like, you know, when it's too much, like, how can I find you help? I'm not your counselor, but let me connect you to a counselor. Like, you know what I mean? Things like that. And instead of just getting rid of the person, how do I engage you with, you know, professional resources, basically?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like how our generation is kind of viewing toxicity, because when I see these memes and I see these posts and it's like, oh, you're toxic, I'm like, so what is toxic anymore? Because I'm like, y'all just throw the word toxic on anything now. And the way I think about it is I'm kind of like, so how do we help these youth that are toxic? Like, how do we make sure that this is no longer a thing, rather than just putting them in one category and kind of leaving all those kind of people alone? So thank you so much for bringing that up. And now that we're kind of like on this topic, I always think about when we have those people that we're trying to reach out to but can't because they might not want to be reached out to. how do we get adults that they feel relatable to? Because I think that's a big thing too. Most young people just want to see adults that look like them, want to know that adults went through the same thing that they didn't. I think that's a big reason I love talking to our counselor, because she's been through a lot of the things that some young people are going through. And I think those are the kind of people that we need in schools. Those are the kind of people that we need running programs. So like, how do you think we can get schools and programs to get more people like that? Yeah, counselor, you can go. Did you
So,
have a counselor?
Yeah, I raise my hand because I get really excited about these sort of conversations, and I've been pushing in my role as a counselor to create more opportunities for young people to be teaching assistants, to be co-educators during this time of COVID-19, because I believe that, I think that young people are underutilized and no one is really tapping into your skill set in ways that will help you all explore different types of careers. I think that we have a responsibility and an opportunity to not just think that educators are the ones that have all the answers. I think we can create the type of pipeline and pay you all for your work as educators, not just peer educators, because peer leadership is one thing, but I really do believe that you guys as young people have an opportunity to be inside these classrooms, whether it be virtually or maybe even there has to be a way for you all to like help cultivate the next generation of youth. And that you all are probably even going into some of these universities and teaching teachers how to teach you all, how to teach young people. I think I really do believe that you all have the best answers. And that's why it's so important for adults to always recognize their lane and to step to the side and let you all lead. But we need to be able to build that infrastructure so that you all can get paid for this work in ways it's not just monetary, but that you all are able to see the opportunities and find meaningful ways to connect. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah.
I got excited about what you all were talking about, and I was like, oh, I have another idea. I want you all to get paid to be in the classroom.
Yeah.
So I just want to add to that. I think it's so important in terms of, as the teachers are putting together their lesson plans, they should have these high schoolers participate in what the lesson plan is going to look like, right? And what they plan to teach for the day. Because so often I even hear my teenagers say, wait, why aren't they teaching us about the real life stuff? How is calculus going to get me to where I need to get me? Why aren't they teaching me things about how to open a bank account, how to manage my money, how to, pay bills, even though you may not have, the kinds of bills, but how do you teach us those kinds of things? And how do you integrate it into history and math and all those kinds of things? So I think it's really important for the school system to start to look at the importance of using teenagers, especially high schoolers, to participate in the planning of their lessons and how they not only implement it, but how they execute it, because these young people know what they need. And it's important to really hear their voices in this process too.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Gayl, because I remember Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley was telling us that the adults always come to the students for like their voice and how they think they should go about stuff, but they never go to the students when it comes to implementation. So I'm glad you brought that up. And now that we're kind of like on that subject, how do we make it inclusive? Because when I think about creating these programs and creating these type of environments, I'm like, how do we make it inclusive to everybody? How do we let every young person know that no matter how you dress, who you are, how you look, you can come and be in this space and you can come and offer your ideas? Do you guys have any ideas on how we make it more inclusive? Jacory?
Yeah, so with that, it's like I have like a lot of peers that might look at like this work, from social justice work to just like, being well aware of like mental health and support around that realm. I find people that look at that and they like, oh, that's corny, you know what I'm saying, like this and that. And so with that being said, the reason I think they take on that mindset is because of the influences that they had at a younger age, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, it's like these school systems need to implement this for these students at a young age, Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I know if I benefited from this at a younger age, I'll be in a different situation. Not saying my situation is bad, but it's just like I have a better understanding of life in general, right? And I've been on that journey myself on my own time. But like, I think everybody should. I think the school system should make that a priority. You know what I'm saying? Because we got kids graduating high school and then they get to college, they don't even know themselves yet. You know what I'm saying? They don't even know what they're going through. They're experiencing these new experiences, and that's not how life should be. You know what I'm saying? So we need to create our own system as a people. We need to create our own system to make sure that, you know what I mean, this might not be implemented throughout the world, you know, the country, but it's like, if we do this within ourselves, we'll be better as a society, as a people. Like, it'll just work out better. So we just need to work on creating our own system and implementing all these things within that system.
Yes, I agree. Alondra, Pascal, do you guys have anything to that point? Like, how do we make it inclusive? How do we let people know that no matter who you are, no matter how you look, you can come and be in this space?
I agree with Jacory. But I feel like just having people that all right, so for an example, like you said, like, it doesn't matter what you wear, where you came from, what you look like. I feel like we should have more adults that not act like students or anything like that, but younger adults that can connect easier with the young people our age and younger. Because at the same time, like, we know adults are there for us. We know, like, they want the best for us, but I feel like, me personally, connecting to adults, it would be a younger adult, because they feel they went through the same experiences. They went through some of the same things that we've been through, because our generations are closer. Because, like, so they would connect, they would understand more than someone in a higher generation would. So I feel like if there were more, like, students, well, not students, but younger adults that are comfortable with connecting to us in our younger generation, it would be way better. Like Jacory said, if I knew everything I know now before, I'd be way better. Like, all I needed was just someone close to me and around me, that was around my age bracket, that would help me, that would show me the ways to go, that would give me those experiences, show me what not to do and what to do and how to feel and how not to feel, you know? So
Yeah, I think that goes back to Counselor's point about student-led classrooms, because it's definitely something we need. Alondra, did you want to say something?
No, I think I just definitely, agree with both of those points. I don't think I have any more to add. I think they said it all.
Yeah. So to you guys' points about that, I know, like Pascal and I, we work for Madison Park Development Corporation, and I also work for a branch of teen empowerment with like Jacory. And I think the thing I love about those two programs is that it's so inclusive. I see a little bit of everybody there. Like, it doesn't matter how you look, how you act. Like, there's alternative schools, there's public schools, there's charter schools. It's like, I work with people that they're totally different from me. They're like, oh, I just came off the block, but it doesn't matter because you're there. Like, it doesn't matter because you're there now, and we're all in one space. And I think we need more programs like that can tell you, like, you might be going back to the streets, but you're gonna come to work first. And that's what I love, because that's where we get the most ideas from. So I just think this has been such a great conversation. And now usually we move to the comments, because people are blowing up about y'all and they got a bunch of questions and comments. So I think the first thing I have here is Joseph said that no one has passed the torch for the next generation leaders, and we started to fail right after Dr. King died. Very little succession in business, civil rights, and politics. So I guess I would say, like, how do you guys feel about his his quote saying nobody passed the torch yet? Do you guys feel that the generation before us hasn't passed it down for us to take the lead?
Ooh, I'm hopping on that, but I don't know if any of y'all.
You can go, Jacory. You can go.
Pascal, he look like you about to get on that.
It's on Jacory.
Yeah, when it comes to that, it's just crazy, because it's like, I feel like some people from that generation still hasn't accepted the fact that things have escalated. So they're like holding on to something that's just like, because times change. It's like really different now. Now we're worrying about like the impact of like social media changing like our image, and it's like image distortion. There's so much stuff going on right now, and it's crazy because back then it was very complicated. You know what I'm saying? I can't really speak for back then, but it's just like at least everybody's on the same page, and it was like not too much going on. Like, they knew that who they had to fight. They knew who the enemy was. Right now, it's like we don't know who the enemy really is. So it's just really hard for us to even target somebody, because we can have somebody that's like like, you know, we could have like let's say we have an organization, but they're being funded by like, you know, another organization, company that's just like whose intentions are like all crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't really know who we're supporting anymore. So we gotta kind of come back and backtrack and find out how we can get on the same page as a people before, you know, we take steps further on like fixing things. So then we're just gonna build, you know what I mean, we're gonna make like a sandwich of just like bad, good. You know what I'm saying? It's just not gonna work out. So we need to really like be our raw selves and our purest, like the purest forms of ourselves, come back, backtrack, figure out, okay, we're on the same page, now we can build from here. But that just takes sacrifice, because that's going to take a lot of time, that's going to take a lot of commitment, and a lot of people aren't willing to do that. Even the ones that are very dedicated and, you know what I mean, are fighting for everything, the rights and stuff like that, they won't sacrifice all that they've been through, you know, to just like be in a better situation. It's really hard. And I don't know if that was like sort of,
okay, we need it. We need the passion. We need everything. Pascal, did you want to speak on passion idea?
I agree with Jacory. I feel like social media like really sidetracked us on a lot. Like for the COVID thing, like that alone has social media going crazy. There's so much false things going on, so many like these accusations going on with the government, this, that, the other. But like it's like it's not showing us what we really need to focus on. What we need to focus on is our communities, our environments, like why it looks like this, why everyone in our environment, our communities act like that. So I feel like no one really, like, they've tried to pass the torch down, but no one really like showed us what to do and what not to do. Where like it all goes back to that someone holding your hand to show you the experiences that they've been through to get us through what we're going through right now. So like we really don't have anybody to get us through. Like we just have someone sending out money for us, Trump. Like what is that really gonna help? What is that really gonna prove? That's not helping anything. That's just giving out money. Okay, that's making our places better or whatever. All that money could be going to like schools, communities, and like new apartment buildings and all this other extra stuff. Just giving out money is not making anyone happy. It's just making temporarily happy, and it's not really proving anything or doing anything. It's not making anything better except for temporary happiness. Sooner or later, all this is going to be over, and then we're just going to have each other, and then we're not going to know how to interact with each other because of all the social media and all this temporary happiness. We don't know how to be happy for real because all the temporary happiness that's been going around. So I feel like honestly we just need to take all this in and just think about it, like really think about it hard and clear. Like this is what's happening and this is why it's happening.
Yeah, I kind of just want to, before I pass it to Alondra, kind of just want to say, it's kind of like you're saying, like you're passing the torch and you're passing the happiness, but nobody's teaching us like how to use the torch. No, we're not really happy. They're just giving us the happiness, but it's temporary. And I like what you said about like eventually this is all going to be over, and what are we supposed to do? Are we going to go back to how things were before? Because it's like now, like the government is giving out basic human rights that should have been here before COVID was even a thing. It's like, so how are we going to function after this is all over? And so, Alondra, I just want to pass it to you. You look eager to talk.
I'm just listening to everything being said, and like I agree. I definitely agree with everything that's being said. I think, you know, there was something that Jacory said when he said like now we don't know who the enemy is no more. And it's true. I feel like the demons of yesterday took on a whole different form. You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't know what you're dealing with anymore. Systematic oppression is not the way that it used to be. You know what I mean? When we throw out words like systematic racism and, you know, what does that mean? And I think oftentimes if there's something that I hear older generations say to younger generations is that we're too soft, right? Because we talk about mental health, we talk about mental illness, that we're too soft. I'm like, that's not being soft. That's being educated. Like we're educating ourselves. And that's not to pass judgment. They just don't really know. They didn't know that. So then it's like we have all these new tools. And when we talk about social media, it's like, yeah, there's good information, but there's a whole lot of fake stuff too. So it's like you have all of this stuff that you're seeing, that you're reading on a daily basis, all of these extra opinions with no factual evidence at all, you know, people going back and forth and just arguing with each other. And then there's no one has the courage to actually say that to your face, like to get on a physical platform and say it to your face. So there's just a lot of different problems, and there's so many like distractions that it's kind of hard to really like get everybody together and collectively pass a torch that I don't even think the older generations know if they have access to anymore. You know, it's just really difficult. It's a complicated situation. And I think that even when people say things like, oh, you know, how much can you do on a local level? Like, you know, you guys need to do more things that are like on a state, on a federal level. And as much as that's great and dandy, like you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? If there's not enough people on the local level willing to go to those higher places to change things like legally, you know what I mean? Then there's no one's going to do it. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a lot of us that are on the same page. And that starts off with schools, and that starts off with stuff like this, where you get people involved and you get different groups of people in a conversation. But it's just really difficult. And I don't blame the old generations. I think maybe some of them thought that they were passing it on. But like everyone is saying, I don't think that they taught us enough on what we were doing and how to do it. And I think that they didn't think that some of the things that are happening now were going to turn out the way that they did. As soon as technology was introduced, I just think that that took a whole different term, and that's a whole different demon that they don't even know how to deal with. And they're just like, so like, let me just not, basically.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I kind of want to like put it together with Jacory and Alondra were saying. It was kind of saying, like, I know Jacory brought up this fact about the older generations being scared to change. And then Alondra saying, well, the younger generations, we're coming with it. We're coming with the education on mental health, education on depression. And when I think about it, I'm like, the older generations, they're so scared of the amount of power that they know the young generations have, that they can't fully pass the torch, because they know once they fully pass the torch, it's over for them. Like that, I think like, and I think that's the reason why like the youth are so shut down, because they know, like, I feel like once we're in those seats, they know everything's bound to change. And I think that's what the world's scared of. They're scared of it changing too much. Yeah, Jacory.
Yeah, and back what Alondra was saying, how she said like how, you know, the older generation may think that we're like kind of soft and whatnot. With that being said, I just think we need to stop accepting like so many people into our little circle. You know what I'm saying? That, and it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like we don't want to restrict ourselves. We want to be able to, you know, connect with people more than ever. But right now, I think it would be a perfect time just to like stop accepting, you know what I'm saying? Like stop letting people into our circle, whether that's like as a people, whatever it may be. I'm looking at that from that standpoint as a people. But just stop letting people come into the circle and recollect, you know what I mean, with everything else that we have to recollect with. You know what I mean? Like me personally, I've been to like places like Alabama, and I see like how the like people down there just operate different, you know, compared to up here. And it's just like we need to like be able to like get on the same page with all these people, because if that doesn't happen, then we're never going to understand each other, right? And so with that being said, it's just like, you know what I mean, understanding who our teammates are before we start letting everybody else get on our team. And so I just think that's like important. But I don't think we're soft. I think we're smarter than ever. It's just like we need to be able to, you know, stand up for ourselves and understand that, you know what I'm saying, like we should be able to command, you know what I mean, make decisions without having anybody's input, right? So yeah.
I agree. I kind of want to go back to what Pascal was saying about social media, like how it kind of just like took over, and we kind of had this conversation, but it's kind of like, I feel like everybody's always like, oh, the world got worse. The world didn't get worse. The world's been the same. Social media just amplified it. Like they're just amplifying what was already happening. And then I feel like nobody's taken into account that social media is so broad now that you never know where to find the right information. And a lot of the things I see now, like especially with, I feel so bad because I forgot his name, but especially with this recent shooting, I feel so bad. But it starts with the A. But this recent shooting that happened outside of the city, and I see a lot of kids in Boston, and they're like, oh my God, how could this happen? But we're not used to that. We're not used to police brutality. I'm just put it out there, Boston youth, I mean, maybe we've heard a little bit about it and we've probably seen it, but we're not used, that's not our everyday. We don't see like young people in Boston, we don't see them like dying, not by police, like we see other things, but not by police. We don't see it as much as other people. And about Jacory saying like we got to stop letting people into our circle, I think it's also about understanding other people's circle. Like you said, those people in Alabama, they operate totally different. I think as a people, we need to see, okay, where these people, where are our people like outside of Boston? How do we get everybody to come together so that it's a bigger impact? I think we need to focus on like generating like a bigger impact is. And I guess that's basically what we're all trying to say in a nutshell. So I think another comment we got here is, sorry guys, I'm looking through them. Susie said that the school system needs to ask teenagers about standards and pedagogy. Pedagogy, is that the word?
Pedagogy, you got it.
Yeah, pedagogy. Do you guys know what that means?
Yeah, what does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means. I feel kind of slow to ask what that means.
Dr. Gayl, can you explain?
I know they're using all kind of big words. It's really just pedagogy is the way you teach, right? So it's basically what they were saying in terms of allowing teenagers to be part of that, you know, how they teach and what they're teaching as well.
So I think the question is like, how do you guys think we bring youth to the table? Like, how do we get school systems to ask more of youth opinions when it comes to teacher lessons and stuff?
I think a lot of it starts with, you know, us advocating for ourselves too and getting ourselves out there. So, you know, I remember, you know, my teacher, you know, she had mentioned, she's like, oh, you know, we had a meeting recently, this and that. And immediately it came into my mind. I was like, they should have, you know, asked some of us to be a part of it. But it didn't also come into my mind that I have her email and I can ask her that. Like, I kind of just forgot that was an option. So now I'm about to get on that. But, you know, it would have been helpful a couple weeks ago when they were having those conversations, because it's just like having us, you know, in those meetings virtually, or, you know, when all this is over and we can finally like be together, and including us in some of those things. And you know, even when schools talk about stuff like student government, for example, I was a part of a student government in one school I was in. And I'm not going to say what school it was, but the student government was a little bit of a disaster, just a little bit. You know, it's like it didn't function. It didn't live up to its function, if that makes any sense. And then there was also very like little adult help at the beginning of the year. And on top of that, the adults did not listen. Like, you could go up and speak to an adult and, you know, there was even certain things happening behind the scenes. And the adults were just like, let's not talk about that because that's going to look bad, basically, to put it in simple form. So I think it's about schools, you know, being willing to have us talk, because there are a lot of schools that they don't want us to talk, because there are certain things that, you know, youth are very blunt. We're really honest and we're going to say it like it is. And if this sucks, we're just going to say that it sucks. And it's not to judge. It's just like, why are we sugarcoating things? Like, how are we going to fix something if we're sugarcoating it? So I don't know. It's just, you know, it's a little bit of everything. There has to be a willingness on the side of the school. And then youth have to remember that, like, we have access to these people. So prioritizing and being like, all right, let me email so-and-so tomorrow so that I can ask, and getting other youth together that are willing and that are punctual and that are going to show up. Because on top of that, if we're not mature enough to basically show up and be like, hey, I'm here, I'm ready for this meeting, then it's kind of hard for someone to take us seriously, basically. And as much as I wish it wasn't like that they wouldn't completely override you for a first impression, that is how it is, and we have to work with that. So it's also about looking at ourselves and being like, if I know I'm going to be late, or if I know I usually, you know, am not so good in this area, like, how can I improve that so that they can hear me out in a way that we can both understand?
Yeah, I totally agree. Brady, who is usually behind the scenes, also told us, like, as a former student government member, that he believes that you're 100% correct. And I have to agree with that, because I don't want to put my school on blast, but as vice president of the 10th grade at my school, I kind of feel like I'll give you an example. Today we had an assembly and we spent the last 2 days talking about the assembly. And when we got there today, everything was changed. And I'm like, why did you have us come here and waste our time telling you how the assembly should be for us to get here thinking we have an agenda and everything is changed. The flip was like, the whole script was just flipped. And I'm like, this is crazy. And this is not the first time I've dealt with something like this, because I was president last year, and I would say things and like everything would kind of just go over their head. And so I was kind of at the point where I'm like, teachers are going to hate me and I'm probably going to get in trouble, but it is what it is. Like, they're not walking over us no more. Like, we have to come into an end, because when I think of student government, I think of like, there should be more student-led things. The adults should be sitting back and hearing, like, okay, president, vice president, secretary, what do you have to say? And I feel like the fact that doesn't happen with student governments, it's just a shame. It really is. Jacory, Pascal, did you guys want to speak to that at all, about student engagement and how we get students to the table when it comes to planning?
I feel like it just goes back to like what we said in the beginning. Like, us students and us young people, we just got to show that the adults that we want to be engaged, that we want to do, that we want to change certain things. So it all just goes back to us just showing them, like, yeah, we want to do this. So we just got to show them.
Yeah, I'm glad Pascal is offering us both lenses. Kind of, it's like we could talk to the adults all this, but we also gotta, as a youth, we need to show like, no, we're here, we're engaged. Jacory, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, and just being sure to like make sure that we encourage people to share their ideas, and just make sure that opportunity is open and available. I think many people might talk about and complain about how their school's bad and stuff like that, but it's just like being able to understand that you could change that. You know what I'm saying? You could change the whole narrative. Is something that will change the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you could always change it by not giving up too. Like a lot of people try and do something like the student government thing. Like I know a couple people who would probably do that. It would get changed and be like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. Like honestly, that's not gonna help you at all. Like doing something, you gotta go full throttle with it. You gotta finish it out. Like there's no way an adult is gonna actually believe in you or want to do something with you if they just keep seeing that you're giving up on it. So anything that you want to do, you want to change, you just gotta keep trying to fix that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we got 10 minutes left, and this is usually when Julie, counselor, were you trying to?
I
I was gonna start our closing and our continue.
was gonna say hi to Toby. Everybody, say hello. No, I was just gonna say, we usually do go till 7:30, but I feel like this has been such a good conversation, and we don't have to hold anyone hostage. We always we could spend some time doing some closing, like some final thoughts and words of advice, and then pick somebody. We always pick a winner, someone who has been tuning in to listen to this segment to the show, and you all will pick someone, and that they would win a $50 bill pay towards their cell phone. Yes. So maybe you can close out with you know how you normally do, and we can, by the time everybody says their closing remarks, we get to the 7:30 if you want. I can go last. I have some things that some of the things that you all have said that has really resonated for me, and I can wait my turn until you call on me.
So first, I just want to thank you guys so much, because this was such a great conversation, and you guys are actually, this is the second time we're doing a youth-led conversation, and you guys had me at the edge of my seat the entire time. So I just want to thank the three of you guys so much again. And so usually during this time, we just go around and we kind of give one piece of advice, like to an educator or to a student. Like, what is your one piece of advice during this pandemic? We can start with Alondra.
I think that my main piece of advice would be definitely just try not to get overwhelmed. I know that that's so hard to say, but if you gotta turn off the TV, turn off the TV. Like if you gotta go throw your phone in a closet and leave it there, like go do that. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. You know what I mean? There's always gonna be something that's gonna pop up. Someone's opinion is always going to arise, and you honestly just have to protect yourself in your mind by not feeding into that. And if you are, someone who needs that, someone who's always texting you and calling you and updating you on that information, then you need to set those boundaries and tell that person to stop doing that, because there's only so much information a human being can take. And I think that we need to worry more about, thinking about really big, important information. You do not need to know specific numbers about how many people are sick right now or dying, or you don't need to know that. You know what I mean? Let's focus on what's going to happen, bigger changes, because I think if you focus way too much on those little things, you're going to go insane.
Yes, thank you so much, Jacory.
Definitely. One word of advice I have for everybody, we just gotta get on the same page. You know what I'm saying? As simple as that. It's not simple, but simple as that. Just making sure we understand one another, and being sure to just have loyalty, and stick by each other's side through all of it. You know what I'm saying? And we should rather sacrifice that than sacrifice, different things and whatever it may be. But yeah. And I got something I want to announce too. I don't know if this right now would be the
Yeah, it's okay. You can go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I work for Teen Empowerment, and so we have an audio series called Senseless that highlights a lot of problems that we go through as a people, as a youth, with mental health and just like gun violence within the city of Boston. And we have a show tonight you go on our page on Facebook Live. So I'm gonna go.
Do you want to give us the name of the page?
The Center of Teen Empowerment.
Okay. I don't know. My phone actually just died, but I don't know if you're watching the Facebook Live. But if you are, you can go type that in the comment section, so they could tune into that. So you guys heard Jacory. Please go tune in to the Center of Teen Empowerment audio. It's called Senseless. They'll be talking about some of the stuff we just talked about, and definitely talked about just what the youth are going through and stuff. So we're gonna go to Pascal.
Thank you for watching, and for the youth out there that's watching, just don't give up. Don't let any of the adults tell you what you can and you can't do. So just keep working hard.
Thank you, Dr. Gayl.
Yes, I'd just like to say in terms of just for all four of you, in terms of keep doing what you're doing. Don't let anyone silence you in any way. You know, keep speaking your truth. Keep make sure that your voices are heard. And for those voiceless, maybe teenagers, you might have to be their voice temporarily as you continue to bring them along in this journey with you in terms of speaking your truth and speaking your voice. So don't give up. There are adults out there who are standing behind you, beside you, to carry you along the way. So just keep being you, and don't let anyone silence you at all.
Thank you guys again. I am so motivated and inspired, and I just loved this conversation. And last but never least, counselor.
We can't hear you, counselor.
I need some therapy after this one, forgetting about me. Let me find out. No, I just wanted to say that, you know, we've been from our office, as someone who grew up not feeling like I had a voice, it is so important for our office to create spaces for people to amplify theirs, right? And so I just have loved to see this whole transition, you know, from the way we started. We had like 6 clinicians and 1 young person. Then it was like 4 or 5 young people, I mean, adults, and 2. And then the last few has just been all young people. And it's just been so beautiful to see the evolution of this space and what it looks like when we step to the side and really truly allow others to lead. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do that, and to know that we always are going to have your back. And our jobs as adults is to take our lead from those who are living these realities, and nobody knows best in terms of what we need to do than you all. And so today was dope. Normally it's like, oh my God, it's already. And I'm just like, I cannot believe that we can spend this much time talking about things and still keep talking, you know? So I just am incredibly grateful. Looking forward to, we came out with 2 show ideas because of y'all. So we're gonna do one with with educators and students, which will be next week. And that came out of this space. And then one for young people who are graduating, and that came out of the space. So I just want you all to recognize the power of you and the power of your ideas, and how important it is for you to continue to use your voice in every space that you're in. So I love you all much. Naesoj, Alondra, Jacory, Gayl, Brady in the background, and Jeannie for helping us put this together for Madison Park, DC. I'm just incredibly, deeply grateful. And Toby says, bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
young people.
Great job
Thank
again,
you.
Naesoj.
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll announce the winner. We'll announce the winner for the $50.
Yeah, our Continue to Talk campaign, as everybody knows, we started this Continue to Talk hashtag, so young people will literally continue to talk on the phone. We're paying $50 towards your phone bill, so please go put your name and email in the comment section. You guys too, Alondra, Pascal, and Jacory. Yes, please put it in the comment section, and we'll choose at the end and reach out to you as soon as possible about the winner. As always, thank you guys again, and make sure to tune in next Thursday.
Yes, next Thursday. Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you
everyone.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay. Y'all just have to hit